All right, we're gonna do something we don't normally do. We're actually gonna do an LCK tier list this year, because I think that like across the board, I wouldn't say across the board, but I would say like the top 6 teams look a lot better this year than last year. I mean, Sandbox towards the end ended up making a run, but no one was really expecting much out of like DRX, KT last year. Like people didn't think that they would actually have a chance to go far, and for the most part they were correct until Worlds hit, and then DRX obviously won Worlds. And there's just been a lot of like turnover. So last year there was obviously the super team of Gen G with Doran, Peanut, Chovy, and then Ruler and Lehens. Ruler obviously going to LPL now with JDG, and Lehens being moved around. But Viper ended up coming back, and I think Viper is a good trade off for Ruler. I mean, I think that they're the 2 best AD carries in the world for the majority of the year, but I thought that Viper was slightly better. So I think LCK got a lot stronger in this regard. And I think that just overall, when I look at the rosters, I think this is probably the best year for LCK, at least going into the year. I think before you had really strong teams at the top, but there was like clear breaks. But now you have a solid, like, I would say 5 teams, like a solid 5 teams, maybe 6 teams that look like they could all potentially like get it together and contest. This is my favorite LCK offseason. I think that just the teams in general, I think this is the strongest LCK has ever looked in terms of just rosters. There's definitely like a clear bottom side of things. Like when you look at the Sandbox roster, you look at the Nongshim roster, the Bro roster, and the KDF roster. I mean, they're definitely on a lower level than the top 6. That being said, I think that these rosters make a lot of sense. So let's start off the tier list. We're going to start it with just number 1. I think S tier. I think the team that should come in as number 1 in the tier list is T1. Didn't make any changes, and realistically, it was their championship to lose, right? They should have been the world champion. They blew the finals, but they still, player for player, their roster was just better than DRX's, and DRX just pulled off a miracle. I mean, the reason it's called a miracle run is because it was literally that. It was a miracle. T1 just should have won the finals, like uncharacteristic mistakes. You had Zeus like dying solo to Kingen, which was unfathomable for people that watch a lot of LCK and knew how good Zeus was, especially in the matchups that Zeus was playing. But I still think they're the best team in LCK. There's going to be more competition. I think coming into last year, T1 and Gen G were considered like above everyone else by a significant margin. Obviously, like it took a while for Damwon to get their shit together. They took Gen G to 5 games in spring, but they were never actually able to get on the same level as Gen G and T1. Whereas now, when I look at like these rosters, T1 has the best out of all the rosters, but there's like a lot more rosters that could compete. And let's just go through the rosters real quick. So Gen G, we have the rosters pretty much completely, they're just completely finished. DRX announced their full roster, so even though this is Brown, which is supposed to be like unsure, like rumored, these are now confirmed. So Gen G, you have Doran, Peanut, Chovy, so same top side. Pays, if you don't know Pays, I mean, I didn't know Pays until recently, but he's a super hyped amateur player, or academy player, I guess. Challenger player, Gen G Challengers player, who is, I think he just turned 17, or he's turning 17 like in this month. Maybe his birthday's in a couple days, but he's 16 turning 17. So this is like the first time where he was eligible to play in LCK. You have Delight, who played last year in LCK as well. Obviously not on Gen G, but he played last year as well. Damwon. So Damwon, I really like this roster formation. I think this makes a lot more sense than the DuckDom roster. Having Deft on the team, Deft is just like a better version of Ghost. Damwon, Kana, Canyon, Showmaker, Deft, Kellen. Same support. Canyon, Showmaker, best mid jungle in the world over the last like 4 years. They've just been insane. Kana obviously had a bad year with Nongshim, but everyone had a bad year on Nongshim. So it's pretty hard to like know for sure the level that he's going to come in at. I just like the fact that their idea is to give Canyon and Showmaker more agency. They want Deft to be like super solid, not die. You know, they don't have to worry about bot lane. Just let Canyon and Showmaker cook. That's Damwon's roster. Let Canyon and Showmaker cook. I think that this roster makes a lot more sense than the last roster. DRX roster. It's a little bit of an interesting roster. So they kept Beryl, the genius, right? He's the genius of LCK. They added Rascal, who's been like hit or miss. He did pretty well last year. The big problem with Rascal over his career is it feels like he's good at getting advantages, but he doesn't play that well later on in the game when he has the advantages. Krako was good with Sandbox. He was performing super well, and then towards the end he fell off. Krako's like a big coin flip player, but I think that spiciness is okay on a team like DRX. You have Fate, who's been in the LCK for years now, and now DuckDom with Beryl. So DuckDom coming over from Damwon with Beryl. Maybe Beryl can unlock DuckDom, man, because I feel like DuckDom is kind of the guy who You know, he's got the individual skill, but maybe a player like Beryl, like he just playing with somebody who's just the brain of the team, where Duckdom can just focus on being the mechanical beast that he was in 2021. I think that could be a good lineup. So DRX obviously looking scary. T1, we already talked about them. Don't really need to say much again. But Zeus, Owner, Faker, Guma, Keria should just be the best team. That's why I've already rated them here. KT Rolster. The big move, Keen coming in from the Freaks. He's been on the Freaks for what, 5 years? Yeah, beast player. I mean, Keen's been a monster for a while. So that's a huge signing. Then you have Kha'Zix. Not really sure on him. I mean, this roster's a huge question mark, right? Because Kha'Zix and BDD did not have great previous years. They've shown super high highs, but you don't know what level they're actually going to come in on. I have him as a question mark, pretty much same as Kana. I mean, he still was good at LCK for, you know, a long period of time before last year. Aiming, one of the best 80 carries in regular season over the course of summer. I think he was all pro third team in LCK. In LCK summer, the top 380 carries, the all pros, number 1 Ruler, number 2 was Prince, number 3 was Aiming. Deft and Guma were not on the list, bro. They didn't even make all pro last year. Aiming was a beast. Aiming was really solid. And then Lehens was the best support in LCK in summer as well. So this roster is solid. This is a good roster. This could compete. If this really clicks, they could be contending for a title. They could upset, maybe go to semifinals, maybe make a finals. Like, who knows? I think this team has the talent on the roster to actually be really good. You have Sandbox, not so high on them. This is not completely confirmed. Birdall and Willer are confirmed. People remember Willer from HLE as well. Kale the support. So staying the same. And then you have Karis and Envy. So question marks here. I don't think it could touch the top 5. The top 5 looks too good to me for this roster to touch. Actually, top 6, right? Top 6. Genji, Domwon, DRX, T1, KT, Hanwha Life. Those are top 6. So I think Sandbox maybe can be fighting for 7th. Also fighting for 7th, you have D's Nuts top lane. Sylvie, Fiesta, Vital, and Peter. Peter made it on to Nong Shim. So, okay. I mean, this roster, I don't know, bro. Morgan and Effort, I'm already so out on Morgan and Effort. I know Giga Chad Morgan was like a meme last year, but I mean, it was a meme for a reason. No one actually thought Morgan was a top tier top laner. It was like, Giga Chad, like he's continuing to fight. He's continuing to die. Holy shit, what a fucking beast. It was Morgan, right? I mean, it's still Morgan. We haven't seen what Morgan, last time Morgan looked solid was, I guess, spring of 2021. Really? Like actually solid? I haven't liked Effort for a while, bro. Since Effort's been on T1, I feel like he's just been in a downward spiral. Hanwha Life. So this is like the new super team. I consider this more of a super team than the other teams. Maybe KT's kind of like this, but obviously Hanwha Life is coming off like, you know, bigger. I mean, the players are coming off higher highs. So you got Viper, one of the best AD carries of all time, straight up. He's my like best AD carry in the world right now. Going into next season, you ask me who's the best AD carry in the world, I'd still say Viper. This guy is too good. I watched this guy closely for years, and he's just so solid. This guy is so solid. Life. I've always liked Life. People, if you go back to 2020, those old Genji roster, I really like Life. I think the meta last year sucked for him, but Life on Engage was always fucking sick to watch. When I think of Life, I think of his set support. I think of him just playing set support. It's like out of the meta for like 6 months at that point. He's still just slamming set support and shitting on people. He's not the perfect player. He's not super well-rounded. Players like Keria are significantly more well-rounded than him. But if we're in an engaged support meta, this guy's got all the picks. So I like Life. Zika, beast. He was the best player at Worlds last year. Absolute beast. Kingin, finals MVP. All of this looks really fucking good until you get to the jungler. Where you just have a huge question mark here, bro. Clid? You put Clid on this team? I can't believe you have Clid on this team. Look, Clid had points where he was solid last year. He also had points where he was running it. I don't know how fucking good Clid is, man. I really don't know how good Clid is. Like, he was in LPL for last year, so I watched the fuck out of him. I couldn't get a read on him. He was like the player that I'm like, is he good? Like, is he good, but he doesn't really give a fuck? Is he just terrible and like has flashes of brilliance? It's really hard for me to get a read on Clid. I did not like his last year with Genji, which was 2021, obviously. I did like that year with Genji. I thought he just like changed as a player. To me, he's just never hit the same as 2019, right? 2019 is when I just thought he was the best mechanical jungler in the world, probably the best jungler in the world. In all honesty, he's still like the Lee Sin guy. Like you can pick up Lee Sin, he'll play well. I just don't know if he belongs on a team like this. I feel like you just want a more stable jungler. You know, you just don't know what you're getting with Clid. So Clid, just huge question mark for me. I still think the rest of the team is so insane that you're probably just like getting top 4 regardless. I'm just not sold on Clid, bro. I'm just not sold on Clid. That's it. Then you have KDF. The person I'm most excited for on the team is the fucking coach, bro. CV Max is back now. Look, He might put his hands on some players, allegedly. Who knows? He might start ringing the 3-net god, but this guy has got results. So I trust him. That's all I'm saying. I trust CV Max. I just don't know if there's enough talent here. Some of these players are young. We haven't seen before. Bulldog, he's 2017. He's 17. He just came in. It's a 2005 birthday or some shit. KDF, more like Doodoo and 4 Who's. Bro, I mean, Doodoo's name throughout most of last year, I think fit him perfectly. I never thought this guy was like super good, to be honest. So I got first T1. Second, got Dom 1. I really like Dom 1, bro. I really like just the idea of the roster. Like, I see the vision of this roster, the way it was created. And I really like that, you know? And I'm a Canyon fanboy, so it. Dom 1 second. These are the teams that you have to choose from now. Because I think for sure, like, the bottom 4 is pretty set. I'm gonna go Hanwha Life. I think it makes a lot of sense. Hanwha Life, I mean, they could peak and just be the best. It's hard, bro. I'm stuck between... So I think all 3 of these teams are gonna go in the same tier. So we'll move them all up right now, but it's just order, right? I think that all 3 of these teams are in the next tier. I think KT might be I mean, it's really hard to know, right? Because you don't know what form BDD is showing up in. I mean, I probably have to put DRX last, realistically. Genji, look, I'll buy into the Genji hype. I think I'm going to keep this. Actually, I'm going to go this. I'm going to buy into the Genji hype. I think that there's a lot of question marks on KT's roster. Mainly just Kha'Zix and BDD, they're mid jungle, and I think mid jungle is really important. Genji, they were able to get it done in LCK with Chovy and Peanut. I feel like, look, I played with Chovy when he was in North America, and he was probably the mid laner that played the best with me. Like, he's good at playing with elderly junglers. Like, it was obvious that his time playing with Peanut actually just transformed him as a player. So he's got that synergy, bro. Like, he knows that, like, all right, bro, you're probably gonna do some smart, but your hands are gonna kind of fall off in some fights, but like, it's all good, dude. I just gotta back you up, you know, follow you around. We'll get into good situations. I'll carry when I need to. Okay. I'm going Genji 4th, KT 5th, DRX 6th. Now these 4, I don't really have much of an opinion on. Like, these 4 you could just consider bottom 4 for me. I never watch LCK challengers, right? I never watch Academy. I don't know how good the new players are. So I'm just going to rate it off the players that I do know. When I look at these teams, I guess I would say probably Sandbox looks like the best out of them. Like, Morgan and Effort, I'm pretty low on. So I'll probably have that in 9th. I think last will probably be, I guess it'll be the Freaks for me. I'm not educated on how good these players are. The new ones, this could all end up being shaken up, but I'd be very surprised if these aren't the bottom 4 teams. And I guess I'll go Sandbox above Nongshim. Look, the bottom of this, you can kind of disregard. This is all just like, this is ignorance on my part. I don't know how good a lot of these Academy players coming up are, but top 6 is like what I mean, I've watched a lot of these players. So yeah, I think it's the best split of LCK, period. Like, this is the most hyped I've been to watch LCK in a while. So probably next year, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be co-streaming LPL all the time because I have co-streaming rights to that. And then after I co-stream LPL, I'm probably going to do some VOD reviews in regular season of, like, on the days where I don't have to do like LEC and LCK. When I'm not doing my like 15-16 hour days, I'm gonna get some LCK VOD reviews in because I'm really excited to see how some of these teams perform. Like, before, I think there was like 3-4 teams that you really wanted to watch, and then you like kind of didn't care about 5, 6 and down. But now that you have 6 teams, that's such a difference. So I think we'll do we'll follow LCK even closer next year. And we'll watch the games on stream, because I did watch a lot of LCK last year, but I did most of it off stream to prep for my show with Monty. Like, he would give me games that he wanted to watch because we did a talk show together, The Jungle, and I wanted to be educated on the teams. But I'll just do that on stream this year instead. LCK looks good, so I'll definitely be watching.